Hey everybody, this is Doc Mack from the Galloping Ghost Arcade out in Brookfield, Illinois. We are here doing another podcast. Today is Friday, March 9th, 2018. Of course, as always, I am joined by none other than former Game of the Year, Pete Hahn. And also joining us today is
No comment.
Scott Lambert from the Underground Retrocade.
Hey.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's always fun to be here.
So they can see you better.
I'm trying to hide behind this stuff. You keep taking it away. Nobody wants to see my face. Trust me.
They want to see your logo on your shirt, too.
Is that what they want to see?
Yeah.
Well, they want to see this one. This one's good.
Oh, that one's cool, too.
This is pretty awesome, I must say.
Welcome, Scott.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for taking time away from the Underground Retrocade to join us. And
if I'm not there, I'm super happy to be here.
How's everything been going there?
It's great. Yeah, it's been a really fantastic year. It's been a really fantastic 6 years, but this year has really taken off in a way that I didn't even expect, and it's allowing us to do all sorts of cool stuff. So I guess I keep winding up down here because I have the money to blow on reproductions and getting art, and we've built ourselves a backlog of kind of restorations at this point, where we're making stuff that people haven't seen yet that's going to be pretty cool.
Well, and that adding new games and events and everything is always what propels, I think, propels the arcades forward. And like, what do you attribute this year's growing success to?
I would imagine our personal success is probably a lot of snowballing. The more people see us and enjoy it, the more they tell their friends, and people come along. Because we certainly don't do a lot of outreach to try and grab anybody that's walking down the street to come and play. We want people to find us, enjoy it, and then share it with someone that they know will be interested, so that we wind up with people that really care about what we're doing, so that everybody can have a good time together.
Cool.
We've
That's
kind of
what we do,
narrow
I think.
focus in how we find
So
folks.
you have enough of a backlog where you're going to start Monday Mystery over at Retrocade?
So in 2015, I took a shot at that just to see, so I could have a sense of how hard it is for you guys to do that. And, we did 15 games. We did it across the summer event. And I think I started with 20 games in backlog, ready to go. And we still had at least 2 of the 15 Mondays where it was like, was it Wednesdays? I don't remember what day we did it, but at least 2 of the games dropped out on the day. Right, where we're trying to fire it up, and today is not the day for that game. Like Satan's Hollow, I had done art for all 15, and like Satan's Hollow right in the middle. Took a dump, could not get it back to save my life. So I had to change the art that day, and it was, I can't imagine the frustration. You guys have been doing it for more than 2 years, right?
Yeah.
It's like over 100, well over 100 games.
It's around 120 now, I want to
That's
say, right?
insane. People have no idea how much work it is, not only to just keep the lights on, but to be able to turn something out on a weekly basis is just crazy. And then on top of that, you've got huge tournaments. You've got games you're adding that are outside of Monday Mystery. It's
nuts.
We're not worthy. It's just amazing what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
It is. I don't know that people really have any sense. A lot of folks are like, oh, get this game for me. It's like, it's not like we can go down to the distributor and get one. Maybe people get that, but it's just not 9 times out of 10, but certainly every couple of games you buy, just getting it home, what you bought is not what you wind up with at home.
Yeah.
Whether it falls off the truck, or just it gets bumped enough to where it's not going to work, or you plug it in and who knows what happens. Just sometimes these things, you turn them on and they blow.
Yeah.
I've had some crazy lack of luck with my Star Wars in the last year, where it's like every time I turned it on every 3 months, it just would drop dead for one reason.
I think we have a curse of Star Wars games, too. Like, ours continually go down.
Yeah, Star Wars is one of the hardest ones, I think, to keep running from a vector perspective.
For sure.
And I mean, that monitor, it's not the Amplifone, it's the 6100, which you'd think people would be able to bulletproof at this point, but like, I've got one out in my car right now because I keep having to rotate them. And it's just, I want it to be there. I want, people expect it, and I want it to be there for them to enjoy, and I'm as frustrated, if not more frustrated, when someone comes in and they can't play it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the worst parts of the entire experience, is when someone comes in and you want to have a game for them and you can't. And you're this close, but you just can't. Had a guy come in last night, wanted to play play Spy Hunter. My Spy Hunter is down, so it's off the floor. He's like, that's the only game I want to play. I'm like, dude, there's 174 other games for you to play here. Certainly there's, he's like, nope.
Yeah,
like, okay.
We get that every now and again. Yeah, it happens.
We want to be able to give people what they want, for sure. But I hope people enjoy.
Are you changing hours for the summer?
Yeah, we'll have expanded hours for the summer. Last year, I can't remember if we did like a 2 or 3 o'clock open, which added 2 or 3 hours.
Cool.
So at least that, maybe as early as 1 o'clock.
When do you start that? The Labor Day, or?
So it'll be at the holiday, and we'll have expanded hours here at the end of this month for spring break.
Cool.
But outside of those two, we usually keep a pretty solid schedule where things don't change a whole lot.
Cool.
Do you have any big events planned or coming up? Or?
We got 3 things in the pipeline. Every year for May the 4th, we have some sort of Star Wars tournament. And I've run out of Star Wars games, so maybe I'll be able to find a new one that we don't have yet. But we'll have some sort of Star Wars thing, which should follow right off the back end of the Han Solo movie, which will be nice. Prior to that, the Rampage movie is coming out, and we're putting together an entire area dedicated to Brian Collins games. So we hope to have that ready about the time that the movie comes out and have Brian down, and hopefully people will get some education on all the stuff that he's done, because he really is a monumental character in the game designer world.
Oh, he's a character.
For sure. And then even before that, here at the end of the month, Ready Player One is coming out
I can't wait.
as a movie.
Yeah.
Me either. And I got a hold of the script, or at least one of the purported scripts. And without giving any spoilers away, I think there are going to be a lot of things in the movie that aren't in the book. So for those who have enjoyed the book and don't really have the regular opportunity to experience the things that are used in the book as plot devices, the keys and the gates, we've gone through and sourced everything that's in there. So you go from a Dungeons and Dragons module that we'll be able to interactively play through, to Dungeons Daggerath, which is a TRS-80 color computer game, to Zork 1, which we've got on an Apple II, that you'll be able to play. I mean, nobody wants to sit there and do a text adventure in an arcade for 4 hours.
Yeah.
But they'll be there for people to experience. And some of these things do generate scores, and we'll have specific quests inside of the longer playing games to allow people to kind of play along and score some points.
Oh, wait. I just realized Black Dragon's a new edition, or Black Tiger is a recent edition. And I'm like, oh, wait, that makes sense now.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, that was the last piece. And it's like, I kept missing opportunities to buy it, and finally found one in Missouri, and wound up going to the far side of that state. Brought a bunch of games back for a bunch of different people here in Chicagoland, and it was raining, which was horrible. But we really wrapped the games, because I have an open trailer, and pulled them back, and everything turned out, I think, okay.
Cool.
Our game was solid. We let all the games dry out, wiped them down, unwrapped them, tested everything. And then I wound up delivering the games to all the other people that were in on the shipment. But that was one of the... It seems like every time I go to pick up a game where I've got it in the back of the truck or on a trailer, we get 40-mile-an-hour winds or hail or some sort of weather. They're just like, we want you to play outside. Stop this indoor stuff. Which makes... Pickup is always an adventure. Yeah. For sure. That's some of the fun.
Do you have... Like, you've got 174 machines now?
We have 175 out for play.
What what would be one of your most memorable pickups?
Probably the most memorable pickup was when I flew to Ohio to Kerry Cheney's place after he shut down. We bought out about a third of his games, and flew into the airport, took a cab from the airport to a U-Haul place, picked up the truck, went and got the games. That took us a couple hours to load up, and I drove them back.
Wow.
That was just that was unique. Usually when I'm getting games, I either am going to pick them up in my truck, or I'll go over to Enterprise and get a pickup truck and go get them in there if it's a longer distance. But that one was pretty unique. And then I flew in and brought games back. That was kind of neat.
That's cool.
Yeah, I felt like a superstar doing that. I'd arrived. I'm going to fly in and pick up an arcade game. Who does that? Have you done that yet?
I have not flown anywhere and picked up a game.
It's neat.
What have you had any pickups gone bad, or?
I don't know that I would say that any of them really went bad. I was driving back from Indiana with 3 games in the back. Pac-Man, Junior Pac-Man, and my first Neo Geo, and I was coming up the Skyway at about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I didn't have them strapped down tight enough, as it turns out. So I look back, and the 2 Pac-Mans are up good. They're at the back end of the truck, and the Neo Geo is up against the cab, and it is over on its side, kind of hanging out into traffic.
Oh, no.
So I pulled over and managed to get it straightened back up. But being on the Skyway at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, trying to push a game back up onto a truck was an interesting experience.
Sounds like it. It's haven't experienced that one either.
Yeah.
What is still, like, with 174 games, or 75 games, it's like there's always those games that you're always after. Like, do you have
any grails?
Any grails right now? And is there any limit to where you would go to get them?
I've never shipped a game, so that would be a new experience. And in talking with you, it sounds like there's a viable way to kind of make that happen to where it doesn't just price the game out of contention. So I've been keeping that kind of as a back channel thing. But for the most part, almost all my pickups have been within 150, 200 miles. It's the anomaly when I'm going all the way to Missouri to pick up something that really is worth the travel. Like the Black Tiger, of course. I kept messing with the local ones. I went again to the far side of Missouri for Dragon's Lair, because it's not like you see that come up every day. And then the big load from Cary. But otherwise, I'd be like going down to Decatur. I don't even think I've been that far. A lot of Indianapolis, a lot of southeast Wisconsin, a little bit of Iowa. But, I like my Tron. Before I opened, I think Tron was the far one, and that was kind of like, I don't know, downstate Illinois. Not even really far downstate. It was a couple hours. It was like I got off work, drove down there, picked it up 8 o'clock, was home by 11.
Okay.
Not a bad thing. Yeah.
But any one particular game that you're
I don't know if there's
still looking
anything that I'm just dying to find at this point.
Yeah.
It certainly, I have so many games backed up as projects that I could not buy another game for a year and still put another 30 games out.
Wow.
And I mean, titles that I really want to play. I think people really want to play. So I guess we'll see.
How do you pick what goes on your floor?
I pay attention to what people ask for, but usually it's just what sounds good in my head, what fits the scheme, and what stands out from a playability perspective. That's really what it takes to get out there. Is it's got to be fun to play. It's not just another one of those. I mean, I really took a long time putting Simpsons out because I had Turtles, and it's like, to me, being
And you had
early
X-Men.
classics guy, and I had X-Men as well.
Yeah.
I mean, the X-Men had the unique thing because it's
Right.
the 6-player. But once I had the Turtles, it's like Simpsons was highly requested. I'm like, okay, I get it, but it's like, you're going to fight and you're going to go right. And, okay, so the characters are different and the combinations are different. You can do. So it really took a while before, I found one that made sense to put out there. And I wanted to make sure that when I did it, I got one that was in fair shape. Our Turtles is due for a restoration, and I promised myself that when I put Simpsons out, I would take Turtles off and do the resto. So I've got all the art for it, and it's just a matter of timing at this point to where I do that. Now it's like it's out there and it's playing, and people enjoy it every day. I watch people play it, so I can't justify taking it off for a couple days and having it not available just because I want to put nice art on it. I want people to play it.
Yep.
So it might be until it breaks down before I get to the art.
And bringing up things breaking down, like and the Star Wars before, like how do you manage having so many machines and working on them, and are there any steps that you take as far as like precautions, or how prepared on fixing things are you?
I try to keep a stock of spares, so I've got joysticks and power supplies and component level stuff that I can swap out. I try to keep a pretty decent backlog of monitors. But outside of that, when something goes pear-shaped where I just can't do anything about it, It's frustrating. We have a Atari 4-wheel drive game that's a 2-screen that was starting to get flaky, and we were kind of able to nursemate it by reseating the chips and that sort of thing. And we kind of did that for a couple of months. All this while, I'm watching for a board to come up so I can replace it. And it finally went down a couple weeks ago, and lo and behold, a board popped up at the same time. Got the board in, put the board in the machine like one Saturday, 3 o'clock in the morning, and fired it all up, and it's like, this is awesome, but the two boards won't talk to each other. I'm like, so wait, what's the state? So it sounds like, I mean, the game is available as a single player game and as a double cabinet, and they must have made some sort of ROM change, because they're, according to the board, when it tries to talk to the other board, it comes up and says these chips are missing. So there's, you know, I know when you look at the two boards, one board is far more populated than the other is. So I don't know. Right now I've got it where you can play both sides of the game, but you're playing them as an individual. And I'm going to send the other board out and have it done, because it's probably just sockets in the grand scheme of things. There's no visible traces broken. There's no cold solders. There's nothing I could do that's easy. I could do the sockets, but for as inexpensively as I could have someone do the sockets, off it goes. Someone will fix it for me. Yeah.
Cool. With, like, what else do you have in store? Like, where do you want to be in a year?
I would be perfectly happy just doing the same thing in a year. What continues to blow my mind is the fact that we're in this for 6, which means you guys have been in it for 8. And in the grand scheme of when arcades really were huge, we've already outlived how long all those are. I mean, Twin Galaxies was like around for 3 years, maybe 4 years. We've already crushed that, the most notable arcade of all time. And it's like, what do we do next? You know? And if it's we keep doing what we've been doing, which is allowing people to enjoy stuff that they haven't played for a long time, or that it becomes something that they can enjoy whenever they want to enjoy it, then I'm thrilled.
Well, and we had a discussion not too long ago about the evolution of like the classic era, the jam era, and how things evolve. Like, is there, like, while you have a very diverse setup of games now, do you ever see yourself getting into games that you like, rhythm games or?
You know, I don't know. We've always kind of poo-pooed the idea of having a DDR, but I know there is an audience of folks who absolutely love it. It certainly takes up a lot of space, and it makes an awful lot of noise. So, you know, there's an audience for it. I don't know if I would be so much into one of those as I might be into something more current as a rhythm game, like a Jubeat or one of those, because I've seen those in several places, and those clearly have an audience. And it's a smaller footprint. It's just more practical of a game. Because if I were to have a DDR, it couldn't be on the main floor. It would have to be on the second floor, which means we would have to carry it up the stairs. And that's limiting. It is.
Well, you got that X-Men up there, right?
We did, but that X-Men comes apart in 3 pieces. It looks more impressive than it really is. I had a buddy who bought a DDR in an auction, and we helped him move it back. And it wasn't ready to go into his house because I think he was moving. So we stored it for him for a while, and in the course of storing it for him, we set it up and played with it and made sure it worked for him. And if you've ever been to my place, we have a pinball room, and there's a false wall at the back of the pinball room that we can actually change in size depending on how much space we need for the pinball machines. The other side is filled with project games. And we had the DDR in that room set up playable. So like every once in a while he would come down and he would play it back there. But doing that allowed me to familiarize myself with the fragility of the pieces on that thing, and it's just like, this is going to break all the time. And if people are going to come in and it's going to kind of work but kind of not, then that seems more frustrating than any sense of satisfaction they'll get out of it. And if it can't be right, then I don't really want to do it. You know? So, I don't know. And it was heavy. I mean, you wouldn't believe how heavy the platforms on a DDR are.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the platforms are heavier than the game. Right? Yeah, we thought about taking it up the stairs, and he told me, if you want to do it, put it out for people. And I'm like, I'm just going to have to go up the stairs, which means it's going to have to come back down the stairs, and it's going to break every other week. So, you know.
They are a lot of maintenance.
They are. It's astounding how incredibly rigid the classics are versus how fragile the new games are. Our most broken game is Time Crisis 3.
That's funny. Yeah, we've got our Left 4 Dead is a new one, and that's seen issues after issues too.
Yeah. Sure. We had a Left 4 Dead 2 that worked for 5 minutes. I think it was out for one weekend, and then it just the guns, you could not calibrate them anymore. That's like, yeah, I wish we could have it out for people to play, because it is a fun shooter.
Yeah.
But not if it doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and like you have an amazing pinball selection.
Thanks.
And like, obviously pinballs are a ton of maintenance.
They are.
Like, how do you manage pinball? And do you think well, there are some games like Dance Dance Revolution would be like a lot of work. It's undeniable how much work pinball is. Like, is it just personal, like, because you like pinball so much, it's worth the effort?
It is. Pinball, I've developed this love-hate relationship with it. I mean, I love to play it. And I had no interest in pinball before I opened my arcade.
Really?
That's how crazy it is about pinball. Because pinball to me was, you had the pinball room when it was down the street, and I came to play. And I was probably one of those idiots that stood there and just jackhammered the flippers and made the noise and shot the ball, and 3 balls later, who cares? That was my attitude at pinball. And then I had a couple guys come out after we'd been open for just a couple of weeks, and they're like, if you want to do pinball, we'll help you. I'm like, oh, really? So about 3 months later, I bought a pinball machine on their guidance. I'm like, okay, it's money where your mouth is time.
What machine did you get?
It was a Space Shuttle.
That was your first?
Space Shuttle, yep.
That's awesome.
84, first game with a toy in it. It turns out, I bought it from a guy who ran a body shop, and he had gone through and he painted the legs, and he had done some work to clean the machine up. It turns out that he had actually bought it from one of the guys that was helping me work the pinball machines. So, and as the guys are digging through, they're like, wait, I've seen this repaired before. Oh, that's because I did it. So the pinball community is probably pretty tight. But these guys came out, and they promised to help, and they did. They were coming out on a weekly basis. And it seemed like any time we got a pinball machine, it would take about a month to really go through and fix it, let something break, fix something else. And over that period of time, eventually it's hardened to where you've addressed everything that can go wrong with it, theoretically. But it's just the time between failure kept getting longer and longer, which was good. And the more pinball machines we added, the more the load was spread out across the machine, so it made it that much easier.
How many pins do you have now?
16 or 17, something like that.
That's awesome.
It is. I stopped thinking about it because you never know which ones are going to work and which ones aren't. We try and, of anything that, we turn everything on and then we go fix stuff for the first hour of the day. I mean, I don't know if that's what it's like for you, but that's certainly what it's like for us. And when a pinball machine is down, when an arcade game is down, there's another 160 games to play. I'm sorry that game's not working, and if we can get it up, we will, but if it doesn't work, we've done the best we can. With pinball, if a pinball machine is down and it has to be off, it looks like a smile where someone has had one of their teeth punched out. Because it's a bigger presence. And I just hate having those games down. So we spend an inordinate amount of time, more than 10 times the amount of time on arcade games that we spend on pinball games, making sure that they work. And it just is. You either want it or you don't. And we want it. I don't know why.
What was the last pin that you added?
The last pinball machine we added, it wasn't Star Wars last year. Certainly we added something since then. Stars was about the same time. We had those at the same time. What did we do? We got rid of a couple and we filled in the spaces. So there's a like a Top Gun airplane themed game, and the name Operation Thunder. And that one actually is for sale if anybody wants a pinball machine. But I think that might be the most recent. We've got one pending that probably Operation Thunder will go, and then we'll swap this one into that one spot.
And will you have a launch event for that, or
We'll shout it up on Facebook, I'm sure. If it comes in as part of a tournament, then usually we'll try and have that sort of thing happen around a new pinball machine. But I don't know. It might just be that I put it out and all of a sudden people show up and it's there.
yeah.
A lot of the times when I'm putting games out, by the time we're announcing the game's been on the floor for a month. Because I like to kind of just put it out, see how it works, and do that hardening process before we really play up the fact that the game is there. So folks that come on a pretty regular basis kind of get the preview of what's really coming down the pipe.
Do you think that the people that go and play by you, are they like the differences between like somebody who's really into pinball and really into the arcade, the video side? Like, do the players enjoy everything, or are they usually there just for one or the other?
The by and large, the players that show up at our place play everything. I very rarely do I see somebody come in and play just pinball and ignore the arcade games. There's at least one arcade game that they're going to play. They may come in and spend 4 or 5 hours playing pinball, but they're going to catch one of the arcade games on their way into the pinball room or on their way out. They may not make it upstairs, but there's usually an arcade game that'll do it. It's a pretty rare case. I don't think I've ever had somebody come in and say, I just want to play pinball.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And everybody that comes in and plays lots of arcade games always winds up in the pinball room and at least plays 1 or 2 games in the pinball room.
Is there any pin that you hope to one day add? Is there a Grail pinball machine?
There are several Grail pinball machines. Someday we will absolutely have a Tron, and we'll have an Indiana Jones, and we will have maybe a new Stern Star Wars, maybe. I guess we'll see. But a Tron, absolutely. We will have a Tron someday.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. That one is pretty highly regarded, and it seems to keep its value, because you can't get them for what they cost. That everything is, it's worth more than it was when people bought it.
Yeah.
Sure. Is there, when you've been buying so many games, is there a machine that stands out as like, man, that was an amazing deal?
We've got one. We were just talking about this a couple weeks ago. I can't say what the game is, but you could certainly come to Doc's and play it. Someday you're going to be able to come play it with us. Where it's a fairly rare game. I don't remember people. I'd never seen it in an arcade when I was a kid. The only place I'd seen it was in a Joe Walsh video. And
everybody's going to be researching
every
Joe Walsh video.
Right? We'll send him on the Goose Chase and see who can come up with it. But yeah, it's a buddy of mine popped up and he's like, "Hey, do you have any interest in this?" And he kind of showed me the Let Go, and it was on the Let Go, and the guy had advertised it not as an arcade game, but as a black and white TV broken. And you look at the picture, and here's the game, and it's like, well, anyone searching for arcade is not going to land on this. So, like, could this be real? Is it all there? Is the bottom rotted out? So as I'm starting to interact with the guy back and forth, I come to find out where he is, and he actually lives in a section that's by one of the rivers here in Chicago that's down low, and I'm like, God, this thing's going to be destroyed. And I get there, and it's in perfect shape. I mean, it's clean. I mean, there's some nicotine on the sides that just need to be wiped down, and the monitor's gone, and the power supply's blown. Hopefully the board works. We'll see. I just got the parts for the power supply today. But the marquee itself is worth more than I paid for the machine.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I paid less for a machine in the entire time. Right? I mean, when's the last time you bought a game for $20? Ever. Right? I mean, that's 90s pricing.
Yeah.
Right? And you see it on, everybody sees the movies, all the documentaries, and it's like, oh, you go to these auctions and you're picking up 10 machines for $200. It's like, not since I've been doing it, that's for sure. But here was this guy, he's like, I don't want to hear anymore. I'm like, I know how to fix that problem. Yep.
Well, and a lot of that is in part to so many new places opening up and the barcades and what's your viewpoint on all these new places opening up?
It's great to see so many people optimistic about the future of what it is we're doing. Even if they're kind of working alcohol into the equation, if it's bringing more attention to the fun that arcades really are, then I'm all for it.
Do you think there's so many people that try it, and we've seen so many people come and go. Mm-hmm. Like, is it giving a false sense to a lot of people of, because you know how it's tough.
It is tough. It certainly is all-encompassing. It puts everything else in your life on a back burner. And you can say that for any business that you're going to start, right? I mean, I don't know anybody that started a business and been like, oh yeah, this is a piece of cake and I'm going to do 3 other things. Unless you're Elon Musk. This consumes everything that of course, you're sitting here, you're doing reproductions and half a dozen other things. So maybe you're at that level. I'm certainly not. But yeah, it definitely takes a lot of dedication, for sure. And I fondly look back on a life where it's like, dude, all I got to do is show up 8 hours a day and get a paycheck. And I mean, the work can be challenging, but all I got to do is show up.
Yeah.
And then the mortgage gets paid. Whereas this, it's like, I don't care how sick you are. There's nobody else coming in to cover. You're doing it, or one of my kids is doing it. And my whole family has been through the ringer on making sure that we're open almost every day. I mean, you guys can go ahead and do 365. We thought about that when we started, and I even did the first couple of holidays. It was like, yeah, let's do this. And I mean, I have sat a whole Christmas by myself at the arcade listening to the games hum. That's like, you know what? I'll meet you guys over at Doc's on Christmas, and we can all celebrate together, and I'll let my machines rest. So they rest on Thanksgiving, and they rest on Christmas, and they rest on Easter. And we come here and hang out with you guys. Mm-hmm. And that's fine. I think that's fine.
Cool. Mm-hmm. Oh, you got someone saying they're pinball. Oh, that's Kelly. I'm pinball.
Yeah, we do have both the Twitch and Facebook chats open, so if you have questions, feel free to post them and we'll get to them. Did we miss any on Facebook or anything yet? Or?
I'm not seeing too many. I'm only seeing a few comments on Facebook. Yeah, since we didn't really announce this, people will probably just catch the replay later. And,
sure.
But yeah, if anyone's watching that has any questions, we'll open it up whenever you want to open it up right now. Or
sure.
Well, actually, before we do that, Scott, you want to tell everyone where you're at and how people can find you and your social media contacts and stuff?
How many people are on the chat? I would be shocked to find that there are people that don't know where we are versus if they're listening to you, then, I mean, we've been pretty well tied to the hip for quite a long time.
Kind of, yeah.
But for anybody who joining us in the last 3 seconds, we're at 121 West Main in West Dundee, which is the other side of Chicago. And we're there every day except for the holidays I just mentioned. We don't open as early. Normally during the week we open at 5 in the afternoon because it seems to work for our crowd. And there just aren't enough people out that way, I think, to open earlier unless, folks are off for holidays or something like that. So we do extend the hours for those events, but otherwise it's our 5 in the afternoon. It's when you're not at work, if you're a regular first shift guy. Yeah. But hi, Kelly. Sorry, I didn't mean to overlook the fact that she certainly is someone who comes in and plays the pinball machines.
Are you 5 to 11 or when do you close?
Yeah, sorry, 5 to 11. So 11, we close at 11 o'clock Sunday through Thursday, and then Friday and Saturday we stay open until 1 in the morning.
Cool.
Yeah, Saturdays and Sundays we open early at 11 in the morning. If you're really an 80s kid and you come out on a Saturday morning, you're going to see all the 80s cartoons. We kind of run that. So we've got TVs running all the time, or either TVs or music running almost all the time. But we usually run cartoon stuff and recreate that Saturday morning cartoon thing that's gone away for I don't know what reason. I mean, I suppose if you've got Cartoon Network and you can have it anytime you want, or YouTube, I guess, at this point, right? Everybody can pull down whenever they want. But there was nothing like sitting down with a bowl of cereal and spending Saturday morning in front of the TV. So we recreate that.
Well, I think it's probably almost like the arcades, like when they were becoming harder to find when they started to come back, like everybody took to them. It would probably be the same thing if people started running Saturday morning cartoons again.
Could be. People certainly enjoy it. I have to expand my collection because I've seen everything probably 100 times.
Yeah.
If I see one more episode of Scooby-Doo, I'm going to kill somebody.
Like the community, it's at the arcades. There's so like over the years here, I've met and Pete's met just so many amazing people. Do you have any people that are just so stand out in your head as like they traveled in from someplace or?
It's hard to try and draw it down to one person. There are a lot of folks that stand out. I mean, we were talking about John Klinkle earlier. I mean, that dude showed up on Christmas Eve, like the first Christmas Eve we were open in 2013 or 24, whatever it was. I think it was 2013 because we had just come back after changing locations. That totally stayed. I mean, dude came all the way from Michigan to come play Galaga on Christmas Eve. Yeah, there are lots and lots of folks that, I mean, we get a lot of folks that are from close by, but yeah, it never ceases to amaze that people are coming from all over the place to check it out, which is cool.
Yeah.
It's uncommon that we get someone that comes in to check it out and we're like, oh, did you go over to Galloping Ghost? And we're like, no, what's that? And it's like, really? How is that possible that you're here first? But we're glad you came. Go check them out.
Thank you.
It's my. How could somebody find us and not have found you first? That still boggles my mind. You know.
We're all often
different places.
People. Who knows how people find things anymore? It's.
Yeah. I don't know if any other metropolitan community that is serviced by an arcade in the United States has kind of this structure that we have here in Chicago, because everybody else has kind of got their city to themselves. But here, there's a bunch of us, you know, and there's enough people to support a bunch of us.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's how huge it is here in Chicago versus any place else.
Well, now then, there's so many. Again, we've all talked to a lot of the other arcade owners and like Hyperspace and the Arcade and Geeks Mania and Garcade. Like, do you see all those places as more and more arcades open up? Do you think it'll affect their particular businesses, or do you think that them being the first will help sustain?
I think them being being the first person in the door is always a good thing, right? But at the same time, it probably makes it that much harder for you because now you've got competition, and you've got to stay on your game, right? Which I think is an absolutely good thing. I mean, there isn't a moment that goes by where it's like, okay, I can just let these games run and it'll be fine because you guys are doing something amazing, or Garcade's doing something amazing, or Star Worlds is doing something amazing, or Terry's down there doing his thing.
Yeah.
Pixel Blast is beautiful. I love going down there. And it's just like, you can't take a breath. You got to keep finding new ways to make old games awesome.
Well, and you mentioned that every time I go out to your place or Pixel Blast, and it's like you see what other people are doing. It's so inspiring. Like your machines always look awesome, and your monitors look great. And it's like I come back and it's like, man, I gotta get some monitor work done here. And it's I think, especially all of us being close, and it's one of the big things. Like the arcades used to be so cutthroat to one another, where and I think Tim McVeigh and Billy Mitchell both pointed out, they were like, wait, what do you mean? There's another arcade owner hanging out at your place, and you're going to their arcade.
If they haven't in the past, it was to scope them out to shut them down. It wasn't to hang out and have fun.
Right.
Yeah.
I can understand the cutthroat nature that existed back in those days because it was expanding exponentially at the time they were doing it, and those guys. I mean, so we're all feeding our families off of this now, but certainly when I started out doing it, I was just doing it for the fun. I just wanted it to be closer to home. So I didn't really care if it made me money. I just wanted it to be there. And I wanted it to be the way I wanted it to be, which is what you see when you come to my place. And we couldn't have done it without your help, for sure. And it's just, it's better that we have this larger community and we're able to rely on each other and grow it. I think if we were to try and go at each other's throats, that would be, I think it would be a turnoff. I don't think people would enjoy it. I mean, maybe it'd be funny for a while if we played it up, but the real kind of angst and chaos that would bring to the business is just, I don't know that there's a place for that in this world.
Yeah, it's so much for me. Like to be able to offer and have somebody to run tournaments with and support one another. I think it's definitely helped and made it much more palatable. It's just been awesome. Like, and that's just something that you don't really see too often. I know it has, especially some of the classic gamers they've had such an appreciation for it, and definitely there's. I think our last multi-arcade tournament was the Quadcade.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people had fun at that. It's I think
so too.
Something that we definitely need to do more of it. So.
You had a question from Jamie. Does the mystery $20 game start with the letter T? Do you want to answer that? Or not?
Does it? No, it starts with L. No?
Are you giving it out?
No, I'm
Is
just
that
trying to.
like
I can't. Yeah,
It's
yeah. No, it doesn't start with T. That's a different game.
Jamie, you're wrong. Okay.
Yeah. No, I think he's thinking of the pinball that we're going to eventually bring out. And that game I bought well over a year ago. And if you're a fan of Jack Danger and Dead Flip and you've been watching, you got to see him go through that game and completely shop it out and play it. And then just as recently as, I think it was last week, he had some guy in who hooked it up to the Twitch chat. And if you typed in left, it fired the left flipper. If you
Really?
typed in, yes. So you had this entire 60 or 70 crowd of people just jackhammering the shit out of it for the 2 hours he was on.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I'm not sure. It was amusing to see what would happen, but with a 30-second lag on Twitch, it's not like there was any real control. But they still had some pretty good gameplay. It just goes to show that you could suck ass at pinball, and you can still put up a score.
Yep.
And it can be fun. If you go watch his broadcast for it,
He's from
it's
Chicago,
amusing.
right?
He is. He's a Chicago guy. He's a pretty amazing pinball player, and he's certainly got his finger on the pulse. Every time Stern makes a new move, he's over there covering it. It's if you want to stay on top of pinball and be amused by what is a great show, you tune in his Twitch feed. He's there like every day playing pinball.
Sounds like schedule, yeah.
Yeah.
Dan is asking the obvious question: how is the expansion going, Doc?
The expansion continues to push on. I am literally calling our landlord every few days. It's looking like now it'll be at the end of this month. So hopefully soon we have some improved. We had a few minutes of power outage on Saturday night just due to the amount of people all playing. So that is going to start, and we're going to segue that into the next electrical upgrade for the expansion. So that actually starts tomorrow morning at 5:30. So
The electrical starting?
yeah.
Oh.
So
That was crazy. You were here.
You're gonna do electrical work on a Saturday?
Well, yeah, it was
half the games went dark.
Really?
Yeah,
Half the arcade went out.
Wow. At the breakers, and you had to bring it all back?
It
yeah,
was,
the
wow.
main breaker
It
went out.
was like
Holy
8:30,
cow.
9 p.m. The place was packed.
Yeah.
Had that happen once due to a rainstorm. And
Yeah.
people freak out.
Mhm.
And it's like our whole place went dark, and I
Yeah.
mean,
It's dark, yeah.
it's dark.
It was. We were fortunate that because there's 4 different panels, half the arcade was still on.
Okay.
So just everybody kind of just filtered over, and then we got it back on pretty quick. But it wasn't.
It's just from load. That many people playing.
Mhm.
I mean, you think about an arcade game, and you don't really think about the fact that it does draw more power when it's actively being played. Right? And pinball machines even worse.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
Saturday
Yeah.
was a huge attendance day too. Like it was, I think, our second busiest day ever, almost.
Wow.
Second or third, something like
I
that.
think it was. It might have been. I think it was 3rd or 4th.
Yeah, it was huge.
It was a good day.
Yeah.
This year's been a good year. People
Yeah.
are coming out to play that have never been out to play before. and they're telling their friends. And I mean, it isn't you guys and us. I'm talking to people in Colorado, and they're having the same thing. It's like this week's bigger than last week, and it's bigger. So that's great. People are loving it, and for good reason. I mean, I don't think there's anybody that's watching that probably doesn't understand why it is we love this stuff so much.
Mm-hmm. Do you find yourself like running events or getting games more for yourself, like the self-satisfaction, or
that's certainly a part of it. I have a lot of people that are casual players that are in for their first or second time, and they'll ask the question, "You have tournaments?" I'm like, absolutely, pay attention. We have at least three tournaments every year, and then I never see them again. So what I'm doing the tournaments, I'm doing it specifically for the folks that are around at least on a monthly basis and are into that sort of thing and want to put forth the effort to participate. And we do, with our tournaments, we specifically separate classes of players so that if you are a casual player, and we don't want you to feel intimidated and that you're going to be playing against Billy Mitchell and have to beat him at Pac-Man, right? That's who wants to do that? So we have these two classes, and what it winds up doing is it splits our regular players into two groups: the ones that are world record holding players and the ones that are people aspiring to be world record holding players and just haven't gotten there yet. So they play amongst themselves, kind of a thing. But yeah, it's fun to come up with the themes and to figure out a way to mix things together. I usually find a lot of my influence from pop culture, from the 80s, or from music, or from movies that are coming out, and I use that as the inspiration. But I don't know, it's fun. It's something to do. I mean, what am I going to sit around and watch TV at night? Yeah, I'll do a bunch of art, figure out a bunch of games that go together, have people play them, see if they enjoy it.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Kelly says, thanks to Scott for having the pinballs.
Thanks to Chad for having the pinballs. Right, I just pay for them.
Yeah.
Chad does the heavy lifting. It would be very difficult to not have shot myself in the face with all the work that's required to keep the pinballs running. And the investment was all on the front end. Sometimes Chad doesn't have to be out for a whole month, and it all works. Or if something breaks, it's something simple that I can fix myself. And he's shown me enough to where it's like, okay, there's very little at this point where if it breaks, I really have to call him in. I mean, I might call him in out of frustration more so than not being able to fix it. It's like, all right, dude, I've done this flipper 3 times. You do it.
On the tech side, like, do you enjoy learning how to fix stuff still?
I do. I think the only thing that I continue to put off is clearing a monitor. Is grounding one out. Other than that, a lot of stuff I had seen before when I used to work on computers as a computer tech. So I'm pretty fearless. There are things that I'll shy away from just because I know that there's a complexity involved. If I've got to repair a trace, if I've got to replace a socket, and I don't have a desoldering gun. I used to have one of those bulb suckers. Those things are useless. So I started working with solder wick when I had to do one of the chips on X-Men.
Yeah.
And I had, as a kid working in the computer store, we had a big Hacko gun that was awesome. You put it on, you did your thing, and you were done. Of course, if you crank the heat volume up a little bit too much and you did it, you immediately burned all the traces off, and you really had to make some repairs then. So I learned not to do that, at least back in the 80s. But I did the solder wick thing, and it's like a little bit of patience, and you can get chips out just as easily as with anything else.
Yeah. So,
do I go running to every board that needs a socket level repair to want to do that? Not really, but if I have to do it, I don't have that trepidation holding me back from doing it. Yeah.
Cool. Well, what else do we have? That's about all that the stream chat had. We didn't have too much in the stream chat. Oh, Jamie says I, not T. I'm mispronounced. Does it start with an I?
It doesn't start with an I either.
Jamie does not start with an I. What can start with an I?
I don't know.
Am I seeing that? Yeah. Maybe it's an L. I don't know.
He's sitting there watching all the Joe Walsh videos, trying to find the game.
Ed Palenick said I found the Joe Walsh video.
Yeah. Well, are there multiple Joe Walsh videos with games in them?
Probably.
Yeah, you'll
Could
have
be.
to.
I mean, at that era, you had Joe Walsh and Tom Petty, and Rush had a game in theirs. And it was a thing. Who'd have thunk it?
Cool.
So what else do you want to talk about?
Do you have anything else you want
Anything you want to advertise? Any upcoming events?
We've got the Ready Player One thing coming at the month. I touched on that earlier. If you've read the book Ready Player One and you haven't had a chance to play all of the things that are in that, then you should. Not like any of the stuff is going away. Most of the arcade games will absolutely be there beyond after we complete that event. But like access to Dungeons and Jaggerath or to Zork, that's not something I can have out every day and expect it to work for years on end. So there'll be that 2-week window where people can come out and do that sort of stuff, and there'll be attention around it, and the media will be playing during that period will be all stuff from the book. So you'll hear plenty of Rush and the other movies and music from the book. So if you're a huge fan of the book, come on out. If you're someone who's going to see the movie and are wondering what the hell's going on, read the book. Book's awesome.
Yep.
And
I agree.
from what I recall from the movie, we pretty much have everything that's going to be in the movie as well. So, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do we have anything coming up for us? We have Midwest Gaming Classic.
Oh, Midwest Gaming Classic. Yes, that is going to be.
You gonna be there?
I don't know yet. I might visit. We're not going to have our corner. They changed locations this year.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't talked to Dan about having a location. So, we're going to sit this one out. Gar's got his thing going, and he's absolutely going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that he needs us.
I don't know about that.
Well,
That's
I've brought.
not MGC without you, man.
Maybe I'll come visit you guys. We'll see. It's hard to get away on the weekends these days.
Yeah.
For sure. But yeah, MGC we'll be there, and we're bringing 2 trucks. We'll have all characters playable in Dark Presence, which very excited for that. We've been doing a ton of testing. The Daniel Pacina, Phil Bond, John Parrish of Mortal Kombat fame and Galloping Ghost Gamma will be with us, and
Spectre File's going to be there.
Spectre Files will be there with the final build, and hopefully the new cabinet art, and Jeff Lee and Tom Malinowski, and probably some other stuff. We'll probably have some games that we unveil there.
Cool.
That kind of like at the last T20, they'll be MGC exclusive.
Oh, like
until
preview then?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
That's cool.
at least a few, and we'll be bringing some prototypes, and so should be fun.
Cool.
Awesome.
Cool.
It's always a good time. That's a great event.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
It's pretty awesome. I had never been before, but I remember the first time I was there compared to like last year, like how it's like 10 times the size now. Well, I think I went 2012 was my first one. And compared that to like last year, it's like it's nuts. It doesn't even look like the same event.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be interested to see it in the new location where there's room to breathe, because it should be really something. I can't imagine how big it's going to be this year.
Yeah, definitely anxious for that. It's coming up very quick, so everything always does that.
Right?
It sneaks up on you.
Yeah.
You know it's on the calendar.
We're going to be into summer before you know it.
Don't say that.
We're working on how crazy it is that we're already almost halfway through March.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it was just Christmas.
That's the way it feels to me, at least.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. It's because we're doing what we love.
It's true.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Cool. Any final questions from the stream chat? Unless we're
Any more requests for cliche? We've got an unlimited supply here.
for what?
Cliches.
I see nothing. Oh, we gotta wait about 30 seconds for them to get it.
For
Type
them to
it in.
get caught up.
Yeah.
Keep waiting for
Cool.
the chat to just start going left, right, left, right.
But left is like I go like this. Bop.
Cool.
What are you playing? Oh, I know what you're playing. You're playing Eco Fighters. I was gonna ask, what are you playing lately?
Yeah, I have been. I've still been. I've been playing Dark Presence the most. Down at the arcade, Eco Fighter, Street Fighter Alpha 2, still doing that.
Shinakuma Challenge.
Shinakuma Challenge. Some Third Strike. A little bit of Fallen Angels. I was playing some more Asteroids. I've been all over since giving up scoring. I've been just millipede and just
random things.
Just random. Like, oh, I'm gonna play this today.
It's weird seeing you like not be like go up to a game like, oh, I'm just gonna play it, and you're like, there's pressure off you. It seems
it's definitely different, and there's no pressure anymore. It's
before you used to have like a ton of high scores. I remember you used to like play a lot.
Well, and it's interesting now because it's like I'll beat a score and it's just being like, oh, okay.
That would be on the record.
That would be the world record, but oh well. But and the first few bothered me, but now it's just kind of like whatever.
Cool.
It's just playing just for sheer fun, and looking to get. Keep saying I want to get into doing some 1cc's, but
those are the most fun things.
Yeah.
What about you, Scott?
Played a bunch of Black Tiger. It's usually whatever's newest. It's a hard game, which just means that I only got so far. But I played it multiple times, and usually if I'm not into something, I'll play one and say, okay, it works, and I'll move on to something else. But Black Tiger had a unique enough gameplay versus everything else that I have that I kind of got interested. I mean, I was playing it, I've had it for months, right? And we kept it off the floor, and now it's finally out because we're here up to the event. But I've been playing it for months, just kind of working my way through.
Mm-hmm. It's very kind of Castlevania-esque.
Yeah.
So,
it's neat. Bosconian is another one that we've added recently. They had featured it on No Quarter Podcast, and then we had it out for a week. And then I played it, I was like, oh, it's kind of this, that, and I really kind of shrugged it off. But with the dedicated cabinet in and playing it, it makes it just that much more special.
There's a lot of people playing that at your arcade. I see scores going up all the time on Bosconian.
There are.
I think it's called the Great Bosconian Wars.
They're definitely focusing on that. It sounds like there's a couple of games where there's going to be a bunch of back and forth that the guys are going to be playing. So that's cool. We've got the usual cast of characters, and we've got some new guys that have been over here. They've been over by us a bit. You've got D-Alex and I Just Don't Even that kind of show up and do their thing, and it's like it kind of brings a new pressure into the play, which is cool because that's what everything needs. It needs a little fresh blood in the water.
Definitely. Cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
Pete, what are you playing?
It's obvious what I'm playing. Oh, Mark Schultz says it's obvious what I'm playing. Yeah, we know. You're going to be killing it at Galaga soon. What am I playing? Lately it's been...
You just won CC'd Solar Warrior.
Solar Warrior, yeah. I've been playing that for a little bit. Yeah, it's a fun game. Really enjoy it. What else have I been playing? I've still been playing a bit of Carrier Airwing, still trying to up my score on that. And what else? I play a game of Ninja Spirit every now and again. That's the kind of game where it's like it's a tough game though, and like I gotta stop playing the other two and kind of focus on it if I want to play it, because it's I don't know. I think it's gonna require more attention if I want to play it well. But I don't know. I haven't been playing anything really too seriously lately, like really just grinding on. But yeah, Solar Warrior is my latest one, credit clear. So cool.
Well,
that's about it.
I guess that will wrap it up. Hope to see everybody on Monday for this week's Monday Mystery Game. Anxious for that. Still trying to pick what it's going to be. But it'll be good.
How do you know if you haven't picked it? I'm just kidding.
Everything in the vault's pretty...
Everything is good?
Everything's good.
Okay.
But thank you again, Scott Lambert of the Underground Retrocade for joining us.
Go visit Scott. He's in West Dundee.
Yep.
West Dundee.
Go to his Facebook page. Make sure you like it. Keep up to date on all the latest news and events.
And the patrons page, too. There's the group. It's a group. The patrons thing is a group.
The patrons thing's going kind of separate. So you've got announcements kind of going on the regular Facebook page. But if you want to interact with the players, and that's where all the down and dirty really happens, get over on the patrons page. We do a thing called Deep Cuts Wednesday, which is some gameplay along with some pizza. Normally we don't have food in the arcade, but on that day we have pizza available. And we have a certain theme of music that goes on throughout that
cool.
evening.
Okay.
It's kind of fun. Yeah.
Very cool.
It's awesome. Well, I guess that'll wrap it up. Thanks, everybody. This is Doc Mack for Pete Hahn and Scott Lambert of the Underground Retrocade. Thanks, everybody, for joining us, and we hope to see you around the arcade soon. Thanks, everybody.